A Quiet Place 2, directed by John Krasinski, just like the first one, although this time around he was the sole writer, whereas he shared that job last time. Just a heads up, there might potentially be some minor spoilers in this review. I don't intend on exposing massive plot points or anything like that, but the movie having been out for a good bit now, I'll probably talk a little bit more in depth about it than I would a movie that just came out today or yesterday. All right, so to start, I'm going to get into the things that I really enjoyed about this film, and let me tell you, there are a lot. I left the theater feeling like this might be a 5-star review, and that is largely because there is so much to love about this film. Before getting into the things that you notice most about a film, like the acting and the cinematography and the story and things like that, I'm going to start with the pace. The pace of this film was fantastic. There was a little bit of a slow start in the first 10-minute scene of this film, where Krasinski gives us some insight into what life looked like just before the events of the last film. And from that point forward, it's pretty much pedal to the floor, pure adrenaline, edge of your seat, entertainment that we love to see in any thriller movie. There are a couple of very small breaks in the action where you can take a little bit of a breather, but you just get thrown right back in, tension knob turned all the way back up, and honestly, I loved every bit of it. Speaking of tension, that's another thing. Going into this movie, I expected it. I didn't necessarily expect the level that we got, but I loved the level that we got. Even in that opening scene I was talking about, as a viewer, I know what happened in the first film. So as I'm watching these people living their normal lives, it's still a very tense moment as an audience member because you know stuff's about to go down. And quite honestly, again, the tension simply doesn't stop for the duration of the film. So beyond that, jumping into the acting in this film was largely fantastic. For me, the standout act in this film was Millicent Simmonds, who played Regan Abbott, the oldest child and daughter of characters Lee and Evelyn. She absolutely was kind of the focal point of the film. You're primarily with her for a significant portion of this film, and I just think she blew away her role. A very close second is easily Killian Murphy. I've been a Cillian Murphy fan for a long time. I loved him in the Batman movies when he played Scarecrow, and I am a massive Peaky Blinders fan. Like, simply cannot get enough. So when I found out he was in this movie, I was beyond excited, and I ate up every moment of this movie where he was on screen. And it was like eating movie crack whenever you got to enjoy both Cillian and Millicent on screen, which happened a lot. Emily Blunt did great in her role, just as she did in the last one. Noah Jupe was fine. Honestly, for the most part, he annoyed me throughout this movie. Although I won't say that that's his acting necessarily. I thought about it for a while, and I think that potentially my annoyance was his character and the decisions that the character made. So for me, Noah Jupe, meh. From there, we'll jump into the story. The story is pretty simple to understand. You understand the goals. You understand the objectives of the characters. They're wanting to go to a place. They're wanting to do a thing. And pretty simple to understand. That said, the subplots are really what did it for me. I absolutely loved the writing of this film. And I think the subplots for me, the subplots that fed into the overall story, is really where the magic happens, not to be too cliche. But I did legitimately feel like I was experiencing some type of filmmaking art in the way that this movie was written. For me, the peak of the story was about halfway through the film. We break into these 3 simultaneous subplots, and they kick off, and they're all incredibly tense. When watching a movie like this, it's enough to have your one focal point that's got you on the edge of your seat, and people will eat that up all day. Krasinski takes it 2 steps further and throws you in the deep end of 3 incredibly tense storylines running side by side that are each building up in intensity as they go on. And just as you get to a certain point in one of those subplots, He breaks you away, you think you get to take a breather, and you're thrown right into the other one, and there is no reduction of heart rate. The last thing I'll call out is something that I really loved about this film, and for me, this is what stood out more than anything else, and that's the cinematography. Krasinski leveraged this filmmaking tactic, if you will, called a oneer, which is a one-shot scene, and it's leveraged multiple times throughout the film. You catch a couple of them in these trailers, two of which occur at the very beginning of the movie. It's a beautiful way to immerse the audience into the story, and I absolutely loved it. Let's enjoy this without me talking over it.
Ronnie, what do we got? We got units headed out there now. EMS and fire. Whereabouts? I think up by Walker's farm.
Very shortly after, you're taken on another one inside the mother's vehicle. This time, the perspective is right dead center of the car. Beautiful panning around the vehicle. Another beautiful one-shot scene up and down this street. Absolute chaos. So you're along for the ride. You're enjoying the story, and the sense that you're in it, again, just kicks up the intensity to 100. I loved it. There's a third one that stood out to me that is not shown in any of the trailers. It occurs towards the end of the movie. It's another car scene. I feel like maybe I did see this in a trailer, actually. Anyway, it's another intense car scene that you are taken along in, and I just legitimately felt a smile on my face in all three of these scenes because it was a wonderful thing to witness Krasinski expressing himself on screen. Okay, I left this movie struggling with something. I honestly couldn't figure out what it was. I thought for a minute maybe it was the score. As I was standing outside the theater in the parking lot reflecting on this film, I couldn't remember the score. And I thought for sure that was it, because score is such an important part of the cinematic experience. And since I couldn't remember, or at least the score didn't stand out to me, that I thought that's what's keeping it from feeling perfect. But as I thought about it some more, I realized there's probably a lot of intentionality in a movie titled A Quiet Place to not have a significant amount of music going on in these scenes. And in fact, as I was researching it, I found some interviews where Krasinski said he absolutely reduced the amount of music playing, especially in the intense moments, because he felt that, and I recognized that, having silence in those tense moments magnified those moments significantly. So I let go of that. I was good with that decision, but still I struggled with giving this movie a perfect 5-star rating. Not that I have a problem with giving movies 5-star ratings, but there was something holding me back. Then it hit me. I remembered there's a scene towards the end of the movie, which again, I'm not going to give away a major plot point, but basically aliens are slaughtering humans. And in the theater, I had the thought, why are they doing this? What are they getting out of this? What's their origin? Basically just a complete lack of understanding for the why or the how behind these aliens. And being totally honest, I would understand the intent of Krasinski to not define that, to allow the audience member to interpret it or make assumptions. But I think for me, I want to know from the writer's perspective of this film that information. I don't want to make assumptions. Again, I'm okay with it if that's the intent and I have to make assumptions. I guess what's preventing me from feeling just total well-roundedness of this production is not having that included in the story. And from what I understand, there will be a third film. Maybe we'll find out there. It would be super cool if there was another 10-minute clip at the beginning of the next movie where we got this bit of information and then we went into post-second film. I'm majorly looking forward to that. I absolutely love these movies. So, all things considered, I'm going to be giving this movie 4.5 stars, and I'm going to call this one a must-see. Of course, if you've caught the first one. If you haven't watched the first one, what are you doing? Why are you watching this video? It's pretty weird. If you caught this film, I'd love to hear from you. Comment below. What do you think about my one call out of the thing that I disliked about the film? Do you feel the same? Are you okay with making assumptions? Or are you okay with that just being undefined and the audience interpreting that for themselves? That's it for this one. Thank you guys so much. We'll catch you in the next one.